Alright, up here to start Imperial Elegy, I glanced at the sequence of play and see, I gotta add new cards and whatnot, but then I realized, hey, I haven't set everything up completely yet. So for example, these power projection things, I hadn't allocated them yet. I found these couple of counters. Okay, great. Maybe this is what I need. They both say the same thing, +1 end roll. Okay, I don't remember what that is. By the way, these things are a joy to shuffle. There is no question about that. So I look in here, power projection is not in. Powers is, but that's not it. Is not in the index. This is a problem. They've actually gone with a bigger typeface on the index than they have on the main body of the text. There's a lot more information, a lot more entries that need to be in here, and there's definitely room to put them there. I think somebody just did not do the work to try to figure out everything that belongs in the index, every keyword. This is where things like highlighting keywords as you go through with the writing, even if it's just symbolically, in the word processor and not actually showing up in the text, is incredibly important, because as concepts are introduced, they should be showing up in here. There should also be more than one entry for many of these things. Also doesn't seem to be, I found something on power projection. I found the rule on power projection. Two players can dominate. The two players with the highest power projection are considered to be dominating. If two or more players are tied for second place, neither of them gets it. So the English should get this. Unfortunately, what's on the back of this does not appear to be what you get. Okay, maybe it's a mix of things. So players dominating get a +1 DRM to industrialization. They do not grant card bonuses, however, influence... Okay, I got you. Okay. So the initial situation is the English have first place and two players are tied for second. The English are at least twice, which impacts them for the +1 card marker. But I get this as well. And I'm also trying to hunt down these counters and get them on the right nations. This is kind of weird. I had the hardest time because I'm looking through each country, finding the influence markers. They're all color-coded for the nations, for the TA and TE influence, but the neutral influence, which is what everybody has at the beginning, are not color-coded, which is a little weird. These are all in the 0 box. We have a flag on them, but the flag does not reflect any nation. I don't understand, But I think I'm set. I think I'm ready to go at this point. I'm not sure, because there's a lot of boxes that could have stuff in them. So, I guess we open things up, add new cards to the deck, reshuffle the deck. I shuffled the deck. We'll deal cards out to each player. Now, okay, this happens before, and that's important, before the diplomacy phase, when you pick a card to throw in. So you get to look at your cards. What am I going to get for cards? Well, unfortunately, again, there aren't reference numbers here. Yes, it's a big part of the game, and it's not... But we have to find which specific, so that's 10. And somewhere it should tell me how many cards I get. Current industry and domination of flashpoints. Okay. So, for example, the only one who has anything interesting here is the Ottomans, who get an extra card. But they have no industry, so that's kind of shitty. Now, wasn't there a minimum? Because it really sucks if you don't have any cards. Oh. Plus or minus card markers, current stability level, and certain conditions on India being stable. The minimum that you deal is always 3. So I think everybody's going to probably get about 3 because nobody's got any industry, basically. I mean, the English are the most industrialized country, and they're only at 2. Stabilities for everybody is at 3. That's not going to give an extra card. So it looks like everybody gets 3 cards. Something sad happened. I don't know. I'm guessing I dropped my pipe or something at some point or another. One of the pipes that I've been relying on heavily recently. So one of my 3 good ones, as it were. The stem must have broken inside or something because it's just not long enough to hold together. So I'm going to have to find another pipe to bring up here. This one is the one I usually have up here, and that one is still holding up fine. I think I'm going to have to order new pipes next time there's a sale. It's not your industry level. The industry level tells you how many cards you get. I think, I'm just going to make sure, at Industry 2, everybody's getting 3 cards anyway. That actually means that the Ottomans get a 4th card. They're the only ones with an extra card out there, I think. Let me look this over again, make sure I'm not missing something. Domination of flashpoints. Plus or minus card, current stability, and certain conditions of India being stable. India. I got to look up the India rule because that's not clear. It's a +1, but on what? I think it's a card, but we'll see. India isn't in the rules. It is here somewhere or another, right? The Indian Army, the crown jewel, controlling India counts as controlling 2 colonial keys. Yeah, that doesn't help. Okay, it's not there. But it's in the national characteristics that are not national characteristics, essentially. Like, that couldn't fit on the cards. This is a problematic situation. It's stable, so yes, I get an extra card for the Brits, too. Fair enough. Wow, the Ottomans are awfully bonused right now. I don't know, that feels weird somehow. You have an option to discard a card to gain a stability. It's a random card. Everybody's going to have to look at their hand and see if they want to do it. There's a serious bonus to getting your stability up, just like getting your industry up, but it has to get all the way to 6. This is all here. Also the turn order, which is actually what I was looking for. It's like, am I going to have to put out counters for this? Luckily for me, they go Germany, UK, France, Austria, Russia, Ottomans. It's not the order I'm used to dealing in, but it'll work. It's one I can keep my mind on. Otherwise, I would probably want to rearrange the placards. I'm making an initial decision, discard for stability here. I look at the German cards. They have 2 3-point cards. I do not want to give those up. So I'm not going to discard. If somebody has a handful of shit, they might. Something a little surprising, not all cards have a bot programming on them. I don't know, because I don't know the bot rules. This one feels like it's coming in. An international conference card seems really useless. Anyway, I got a couple of good ones. I don't want to. I'm not gonna come back. But I looked at a card and I'm like, that's weird. Why doesn't that have one? It's a reaction card, but I don't know that that would matter. I'm assuming you just draw off the top with the bots. But Germany and Italy had, or Germany and the UK had pretty crappy hands, in my view. 2s and 1s, nothing big. So they all went for a random discard. I got to be careful because I think mandatories aren't eligible for this. I would have to look that up, and I didn't do so. Is it already dawn? Can't be. I'm getting some color looking like it's in there, but I'm wondering if that's just reflection of my... It's a bright night, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Now, that has gotten us to the diplomacy phase. I'm feeling kind of wiped out already. I know I haven't done anything yet, but this is the way that I introduce myself to games, is I play, you know, one phase or whatever, and then, you know, pause, because often it is fairly hefty to make my decisions. I know this wasn't, but I had to do some pre-setup. Okay, apparently it was a hint of dawn. Getting a little bit more in there. And, you know, sometimes I don't stay away very long. I watched, you know, the final 10 minutes of whatever video I was on. That's good enough. Gave me a little bit of a break. Okay, so now we're in the diplomacy phase. Make deals. You know, it's hard to come into diplomacy in a game that doesn't require it, and I don't feel like anybody wants to cut deals right now, just because I don't know what I'm doing. But each player is going to have to make the decision on which of their home cards they're going to do, and we're going to look at each player's hand and make that decision one at a time. I'm going to relight my pipe first, but yeah. Very hard to you know, come up with good strategies in this kind of game on a first play. In fact, it's hard for me anyway. I'm not a good strategy person. I try to go into my thinking and everything as to what I'm doing, but I know, you know, when I go to a con or whatever, people seem to have just this knowledge of the one I'm thinking of here is playing Here I Stand, which is, I think, the only one of this type that I've played at a con. But I tend to do okay, but I definitely don't study it as much as other people who show up to play a game do, even though it's just a pickup game or whatever. Where I did not do okay was the Napoleonic Wars, but that's a different flavor a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at the Germans and parse them out. My own cards, hey, I wouldn't have to discard. I have a 4-point card that could give me an economic stability, but, you know, whatever. This I would want to play for points. Important secondary power. Choose an independent minor power. That power gains an army. Place the important secondary power chit in the power's space. The player that's allied with this minor gains a half card per turn. This would be something if I can achieve diplomacy with someone, so that's of interest to that. Otto von Bismarck. Gain 1 stability. Declare a war of unification using this card's CP value. You may target 2 different powers with this declaration of war, so I could go, you know, attacking Bavaria and Saxony or something like that. After declaring war, you can choose to forbid other players from joining the war. Minor power allies may join the war as normal. When they say minor power allies, what they mean, I think... I'm not sure what they mean. So, do they mean if I attack France, France's allies can join? Or do they mean if I attack Piedmont, say, but I couldn't do that in this case. But let's say I had, let's say there was a diplomacy marker in Bavaria. If I attack Bavaria, does its ally join? I can get the answer to that over here, I think. Well, I don't know. We have bunches of cards. Otto von Bismarck, the first chancellor, Bismarck's greatest strength. Can get removed from the game. That's shocking. So it doesn't give me any clarification on the card. It gives me some history and it gives me a play note. That's interesting. Wouldn't have expected, like, kind of wish that hint that it could be removed was on here. Or not, I don't know. I like the idea of things surprising me. But if I'm counting on that card, like if that's vital to my strategy, that's going to hurt. This is one of the problems with CDGs in general, is that they present me with this, do I want to just, you know, be buffeted about by the random events, which is pleasing to me in certain ways, or do I want to play well? You know, and certainly if I was playing, you know, I'd want to know this fact before I play. It's one of the reasons I hate, or I dislike, I wouldn't say hate, but it's one of the things I really dislike about Paths of Glory, and why, even though I've returned to it a couple of times, you have to know the deck to even play historically. German General Staff, gain a stability, take any response or combat card from the discard pile. It cannot be played this impulse. Or I can gain a stability in 2 Elite Corps. Remember, there can be 2 options to a card. Oh, boy. Oh, wait, we got a clarification on this one. Jeez, my eyes are not happy. Clarification. Remember, declaring war on a minor power with a player ally still counts as declaring war on that player. This event can prevent that player from calling their player allies, but the defending player will still have the option to aid their minor power ally. I actually feel like both are in play. That, like, certainly this clarification makes it obvious, but the question is, was that clarification seen as necessary because they didn't think they had said that at all? Or is it necessary because they didn't think they said it sufficiently in that one statement? Or is that one statement broad and France could bring in, the other side of it was, could France bring in other allies? Oh... yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Germany is ready to go blood and iron here with the Otto von Bismarck. Now, we have to look at these. What do I have army-wise? I have just a couple of armies. I could build more elite corps. or I could steal a response or combat card. Now, let's look at what was already discarded. There's the torpedoes, which is available. And this is what you have to do. You have to, you have to analyze so much to make these decisions. The defender does not roll for mines in this battle. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. Give a naval battle. I'm not worried about this. This is a naval battle card, although I could steal it for its points. And it's a 2-point card, which isn't too terrible. I think I'm going to take the General Staff and not the von Bismarck. That means I tuck this away because I want those additional elite corps. Do I? How much manpower do I have? I only have 2 manpower. I can only have 2 armies on the board. Like, I'm looking at, do I want to go to war? Against 2 powers, I could, like, smack, say, Saxony and Hanover right away. I don't know. Oh, God, it's so hard. Three CPs. Or I could go for Hanover and Schleswig-Holstein. And I'm able to deploy my reserve for free. I'm going to go with what I had because I can have that extra elite corps. And I think that'll help me in the long run. I don't know. Historically, I think they went to war on this turn. This is the 1850 turn. I think this is the Schleswig-Holstein crisis, but I'm not positive of that. But I want to build up a little bit. And I could also, well, I can't build army, but I might be able to build reserve army. No. That's me. Yeah, that's already limited by industry. But if I get it, yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right, let's take a look at what England's got. And again, I'm not going to make this kind of analysis each turn, on camera. But I feel like it's important because, in part, it shows these national cards, which I have not shown to sufficient extent, as well as all of this. Uh-oh, here's what I was looking at, this South German Confederation. It's its own card. All right, balance of power. Gain of stability. If a defender agrees, you become the... This is a reaction card. You could also play this as an event to gain a stability and you get a card back. So this is a good hold card, to kind of see if you want to react. Use this card's CP value as your war budget. Okay, so this allows me to enter into a war as a primary combatant, which is interesting. This one, gain a stability. Build 1 naval squadron or dreadnought and then spend 2 CPs on expeditionary force, pacification, and or naval movement actions. That sounds very powerful. Or flip the Indian nationality to stable, spend some CPs, etc. Interesting question, not sure. Diplomatic incident. Remove an alliance from 1 minor power of your choice. Yeah, I got a point for that. International conference. This is a reaction. Allows me to impact a crisis roll. Or decrease the WTT. This is a 4-point card that I can use not as a reaction. I'm probably going to do that. Multicultural empire. This is a 1-point card. If the dual monarchy has been played, choose one of the following options. Austria grants rights to a nationality. Wow, that's pretty cool if Austria has it. This would be a diplomatic thing to offer to Austria if they had something to offer to me. But I don't, nothing comes to mind immediately because I don't know what their cards are, But it's something to think about. Maybe we back up and go to the diplomacy if you know, I had a friend who would say things like, I've got a card that you'd really like me to play. Austria attempts to grant citizenship to a nationality. This attempt succeeds on a 4 or more. I'm assuming they can only do this if they've already granted rights, as mentioned before. I'm really disturbed that that's not a prerequisite on the rights itself. Or I can play it to decrease Austrian stability by 1, which would be a really dicky thing to do, kind of a waste of a card, but it's only a 1-point card. So I probably have set out that feeler of, hey, I got a card you'd love me to play. What can you do for me? Do you have something you can really help me with? Like, I promise to play the multicultural empire if you give me a card. South German Confederation. Austria gains control of Bavaria. Bavaria becomes an Austrian home space. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Okay, this is excellent that this is a card. The Bavarian minor power ceases to exist. As long as Austria controls Bavaria, Austria is still treated as being allied to the Bavarian minor for purchase of national goals. Playable if Bavaria is independent and an Austrian ally. Wow, I have a couple of cards Austria would love. Okay. So we're going to backtrack to the diplomacy segment and say, hey, Austria, what can you do for me? Because I got a couple of cards you would love. Well, they have a mandatory assassination. Ooh. And they have a Chinese intervention. Place a reduced Qing army. And by the way, I could ask Austria, I could show Austria these cards and ask Austria to show me their cards. Place a reduced Qing army in a player Japanese-controlled space. Treat the Qing as rebel. If that is not eliminated by the end of the turn, remove the army and the control marker from the space. Okay. Nobody controls any of China yet. If the control marker is removed as described above, the owning player must either decrease their stability or gain a -1 card marker. So, for sure this is not up for sale. But the multicultural empire is a 1-point card. I asked Austria to show me their cards after I showed them the 2 that they're interested in. And they're like, probably willing to? Because I want to see both in case I've got a chance of something horrible happening like this. Yeah, they're willing to. So now the question is, the assassination gives me the power to affect this, which actually makes it a bonus card. So I'm going to propose for 1 point, a 1-point card. Now here's the thing. If Austria gives up a card, if I recall correctly, grant rights is 3 CP. So essentially, if Austria gives me a card, then I'm going to gain, then Austria is going to essentially gain a CP that they wouldn't have otherwise. They have to play both of their cards. They might chain them or whatever, but they're going to have to play both of their cards to get that. So there's a slight advantage for both sides for this deal. And what we're going to do to mark this while we think about it is look for an influence marker here. We're selecting our home card, but we could make that decision before this point. And then look for an Austrian influence marker and put it on the Brits. And the Austrian one will probably stay in play because we'll have agreed. Now, we have to pick one of our two cards. We don't actually have to yet. Where was the other one? Sun Never Sets. I think I was going to take Sun Never Sets because I'm not that interested in the balance of power at this point. Boy, these are slick. And it's funny because, again, there's texture on it here. So I'm kind of doing two things at once, backtracking into the diplomacy phase. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. It is in the same phase. I'm tired already. And I was kind of hoping to sit out and watch the sunrise, and now it's gotten boring. I thought this would go very quickly, but yeah, it's not going to. This marker will remain if they make the deal. This one is just there to remind me because I'm going to look at all other possible deals as well at this point. I wasn't planning on any diplomacy, but we're already seeing a point to it. All right, let's look at the Frenchies. They have shitty cards. Let's look at this. Aux armes, citoyens. 2 reserve armies, steps, then declare war using the card's CP value. If you choose a conquest war, you may target up to 2 keys, and then you may also target 2 different powers. Yeah, that could be dangerous. However, if you do either, neutral powers can join the war against you. If France wins the war, gain a stability. Take either the French intervention or papal influence card from the discard pile. I haven't seen either of them show up, so we wouldn't know. The City of Light, gain a stability and 3 CP to spend. Roll a die if it's less than or equal to. Our intention is going to be almost certainly the City of Light. We don't want to go to war. Yeah. What are our things? Charge of the Light Brigade. Your opponent gets a -1 battle roll. You get a card back. Ironclads cannot be used after Dreadnoughts. You get a +2 name. This is the card that kind of represents you got the advantage on Ironclads briefly. Now, oh geez, there's like 2 markers on here. I don't know what they say. Does it say discard? Yeah, I think so. If you draw this card after Dreadnoughts has been played, remove it from the game and draw another card. Okay. I don't think you remove this at that just for playing it. Cannot be used after Dreadnought. You receive a +2 battle modifier in Navy. The defender does not roll for mines. Draw an additional card at the end of the battle. Okay. So I've got like a couple of combat cards. I got nothing that's really impressive unless somebody else has an offer for me. The Austrians, we know their cards were not terribly impressive to them. The exchange of 1 card to the English seems like a good idea. Here we got the Habsburg dynasty. Choose an independent minor power in Europe. Remove the opposing player's diplomacy if present and gain an alliance with that minor power. Ooh, that's powerful. Special. If you choose a German minor power, you may remove an opponent's player's alliance marker from the chosen space. Okay, normally it's just diplomacy. So I could take Sardinia, Piedmont this way and make them my ally. That's very powerful. After playing the card, if you're allied with at least 2 German minor powers, gain a +1 card marker. Ooh, that's appealing too. And Kaiserreich, gain a stability, grant rights to a nationality. That's nice too. Gain a stability, attempt to grant citizenship to a nationality that has rights. Okay, see, here's the thing. This one says that I can try to do it to one that has rights. The other one didn't. And now I'm like, ah, fuck. Now I feel like I have to read up on the Austrian rights again because that English card did not have that prerequisite. This is... No. the multicultural empire. I can choose the options. They give rights or they attempt to give citizenship. Obviously, trying to give citizenship is a powerful edge. So now I look here, and granting rights, there are 8 nationalities. They're shown by a nationality must be granted rights before it can be granted full citizenship. A nationality that sounds like it is determinative, right? Except this card has that prerequisite and the other card does not. I think it is determinative, but I'm not sure. A nationality retains the benefits of having rights when it has full citizenship. Granting nationality rights. Wait, where do we get to citizenship? Oh, no, we've got it here, where expand citizenship, reforms grants somebody their rights. Expand citizenship attempts to grant nationality full citizenship. And this actually also doesn't say that the reforms, that the rights have to be granted, but this does. I'm saying it's determinative that the British card works the same as the reform here. But anyway, where were we? Gain of stability, grant rights. Gain of stability, attempt to grant citizenship. And it has all the modifiers there. But this is only playable after the dual monarchy has been played. I don't own this card yet. So this one I'm actually not even allowed to pick. And we knew this. And I don't know how to get this under, because the table is tricky here. Habsburg Dynasty, therefore, is my pick. Whew. Okay. Let's take a look at the Russians. Russo-Turkish War. If possible, gain an alliance with a minor power in the Balkans with which you have a diplomacy marker. I have one with Romania. Then declare war against the Ottomans using this card's CP value. If a liberation war aim is chosen, the card can liberate a Balkan nationalities that are not currently in rebellion. If a conquest war aim is chosen, do not decrease the WTT or do not increase the WTT or increase your stability. If Russia wins the war, gain a stability. God Save the Tsar, gain a stability, spend 4 CP on recruitment and construct forts. You can only gain 1 elite corps. Gain a stability, attempt to build the Trans-Siberian Railroad. Roll a die if your roll is less than or equal to the current turn. The railroad is complete. Painful. I would love to get the railroad built now, but yeah, I would have to roll a 1. So that doesn't seem worth it. The God Save the Tsar seems like the best move right now. So I am going to choose that one. And last but not least, we have the Turks. We like the Brits. Oh, geez. A handful of mandatories. Hey, we're going to get a lot of points. Modernization, gain a stability. Another player can give you a card to put into industrialization. We want to do this. That power draws a card. They must tell you the true CP value of the card they're giving you. If no player gives you a card, you can then use this card for the 3 CPs. That's probably what I want to do. Jihad, declare a war against a power that controls an Ottoman home space or Russia. Russia controls things that are Muslim, so yeah. Using this card's CP value, declaring war on a Russian minor power ally counts as a declaration of war on Russia, so I could go against Bulgaria. Do not increase the WTT or increase your stability. Gain 2 jihad markers. Gain 1 stability if you win the war. I am going to go for the modernization. And we're almost done here. We haven't looked at these, but these are all just going to trigger, and we'll look at them when they hit. I don't think any of them impact me in this decision. Okay. Now we're looking at, do the Brits want to cut their deal, or do the Austrians want to cut the deal with the Brits? And I think the answer is yes. I'm going to leave those markers in place because of that, but I've got to give the Brits a random card. It cannot be my home card, so odd even. The Chinese intervention goes over to the Brits. And in exchange, the Brits have agreed to play a specific card, the one that expands rights in Austria-Hungary. And we're going to go to the action phase, and they agree to play it as their first card. Just, you know, whatever. So back up here. And I've got the German hand out here. Wow, what a powerful hand in terms of points that they're sitting on. I do have a bit of a gripe. This 4, it looks too much like a 1 to me. It just, you know, it's not quite at the compass level of like unbelievably bad graphics choices, but, you know, like I've said many times, our eyes are getting older. I can't really see the thin little line there in the 4. It's just a poor choice. I mean, here's a 1, for example. They look the same to me at this resolution. I have to zoom in to, I don't know, like 4 times to see it. Now, my own eyes can see it better, but with the camera, it's harder. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out what to do. So one thing I want to do is I have lots of expensive cards here. This one feels like a bum deal. I could have discarded a card and got that, and it's a really high value card. There's a few things I want to do. I want to do a diplomacy and drop dip on Bavaria, but that only, or put an influence, no, dip on Bavaria, that only cost me 1. And then I'm left with, okay, but what do I do with my other couple of points? And I'm really not sure. I'm going to instead take my biggest card and spend it as my, if I can find me, my industrialization. Now, I haven't seen any in the national powers. So now I'm looking to see, what are these? Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. I feel like these should be by nation as well. There are 6 of them. And again, you know, there's no reason they couldn't be nationally colored, but they aren't. So I'm going to place that as my action for the turn. Just because my other cards I'm going to divide up a bit. That's a powerful and useful card, especially if I'm going to war or something. But I'm having trouble finding anything I really want to do. That'll put me to the Brits. The Brits promised to play this. They're not going to screw the Austrians over at this point. So if the dual monarchy has been played, choose one of the following. We're going to let Austria pick a nationality that they want to give rights to. We look for that. There's one. And we will give rights to the Hungarians because they're of great importance. And that card is discarded. Think about the French in a moment. Move these influence markers. There's no longer any real reason for them there. Although, you know, when players start to work together, they often continue to do so. So it's something to keep in mind that there's like, you know, they made a small step together. That's a positive. Okay, a couple of things here. The French opened up by playing an industry card. Again, I looked at their cards. City of Light, you know, I can hold this kind of in reserve. This gives me a good bonus there. I don't have great cards, so I don't know if I'm going to try to hold one. And then for the Habsburgs, they're going to play the Habsburg Dynasty. It costs multiple steps and actions to get an alliance, but with Habsburg Dynasty, I can drop one into play automatically. So I'm going to simply ally with the Bavarians and their big army. And, yeah, I don't know about big. And get myself a bonus. This is one reason the Germans do not want to do a diplomatic move into Germany, is that Habsburg dynasty can pull their influence, their diplomacy marker off, remove an opposing player's diplomacy marker, and gain an alliance with the minor. Now, I'm viewing this as one of Austria's big goals. They're probably going to lose, but it looks appealing to me. It looks like my cards work most towards that. We'll see what my national goals are going to change things. Let's go on. Here we come to a weird kind of card that I'm hating at any cost. The Russians have this. A German elite corps provides an additional +1 land battle modifier. Fine. Draw an additional card at the end of this battle. Special. The German may play this card from the discard pile by discarding a card of their choice. They cannot discard a mandatory event or their home card. Do not draw an additional card if this was played this way. Oh boy, is this obnoxious. Like, it's going to have to sit out there. Now, at least it spells it out on the card. But it's going to have to, as opposed to just a special power that the Germans might have there, that they can draw this card. But, I mean, I guess I can put it separate from the rest of the discards and it'll be a reminder in that way. It's just the kind of painful piece of game state that I would rather not have kicking around. But it does mean the Russians probably don't want to play that right off. I'm looking at the God Save the Tsar. Gives me 4 CP on recruitment and construct fort action. So let me think about that. Because right now my manpower is 5. I don't think I have a very big army out there. Now I have to hunt down my army. 1, 2, I've got units at half strength, which helps. 3, 4. Wow, I wanna suppress that, but yeah, I think I'm allowed to build yet another army because my manpower is not reached yet. But I would also like to upgrade units. And that level 5 stability is especially good for Russia. It gets me an extra card next turn. Their power gets that bonus. That's a special, I don't know if it's mentioned anywhere here. Yeah, here it is. 2 steps and a elite corps. Yeah, this is my big card. I might not have wanted to play it, but you know what? Home card events tend to be pretty potent. And speaking of home card events, before anybody gets screwed up, I want to play my modernization and see if I can get a card off someone. For industrialization. Power is offered a card. I don't know what happens in the case of a mandatory. I'm sure it's the OT gets to play the event. Austria had a mandatory, this assassination. They don't want to give up a 2-point card. That seems like a lot. But 3 players are offering a 1-point card. I'm going to take France's because I'm potentially giving France a bonus with this. So I get the charge of the Light Brigade here with an industry card. It's probably the best I'm going to get is a 1-point card. I don't know why I put that one face down and everyone else face up. And now France gets a new draw, and they get something better, the Paris Commune. Wow. Play during a victory step of a war in which France lost or French stability, or if French stability decreases. I don't know. But France certainly is not going to play it for event. France has an issue, a pacification here, that I want to take care of. I'm going to use the City of Light card for that. I think I'm going to use whatever additional points are on it to increase my bonus on the City of Light. When a pacification, you roll 2 dice, add the value of the pacification marker. I don't have a naval unit there. I could do a naval move. Honestly, I can't. Oh, this fucking sucks. Okay. So here's the deal. Remember when navies move at peace? At the end of the impulse, they go back, I think. Or maybe they have to end their movement back there. I don't remember. But basically, I would have to sail my ship out there to take care of this. I think I'm only allowed to do a pacification once in each space. Yeah, it can only be taken once per space per impulse. So I could sail my squadron out. I could do a naval action. Sail my squadron out. Now, I could also build new expeditionary forces, but and now I have to look up the Zouaves. They have a +1 DRM. Is it for this? I think it is. I think it's. They also count as an elite corps. But now I have to find them and the special rule on them, unless it's covered here. There we go. An elite colonial that provides +1 to pacification. Cool. Okay. So I have a +1 to pacification. Excellent. I put my boat out there. Now I've spent 2 of my points of the 3 that I get off this card if I do City of Light. This is the kind of cool thing. You always want to play this for the event, unless you're trying to industrialize or chain or something. So I'm at +1, I'm at +2 for the boat. An 8 or higher, I successfully pacify it. I get that, which means the pacification marker just goes away, and this is now really a home space of mine at that point, sort of, kind of. And then I have the City of Light. I had 1 point I was willing. I could build a reserve army or something. I don't want to do that. So on a 1 or a 2, the die roll has to be less than or equal to the current turn, but I can get a -1 with the extra point. So on a 1 or 2, I get a City of Light point. It's a good turn for the French. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to tell you what else I did. I used the big card for the industrialization for the Brits. For the Germans, I played the German General Staff, got my, stability off that, as well as a couple of elite corps. Yeah, I can only use 1 of the elite corps in any given battle. I only have 2 armies, but it's okay. It's okay. And that'll put me over to the Austrians. Austrians only have a single card. It's a mandatory. That's okay. I'll use it for my industrialization. And WTT goes up by 1. I choose a player. That player either has to decrease their stability by 1 or discard a random card. I'm going to hit Germany with this because I'm taking an anti-German stance here. They'll take a stability hit. They made that choice earlier already. And that gets me that. Also in an interesting position. They have 3 hull cards, but they are all mandatory. I've already, did the only way I could do with this. This one has no effect as of yet. This one hurts the UK, but maybe I want to hold it till later. Shift your chit on the alliance track. What the fuck? Shift it where? Then immediately conduct an alliance resolution. If you begin this impulse in the neutral box, you cannot shift back into neutrality during the alliance resolution step. After alliances are resolved, increase the world tension by 1 if there are 1 or more players in alliance boxes if there are more players in the alliance box other than in the neutral box, or if one alliance has 3 players in it. Okay. I'm not thrilled about this particularly, but it's not doing me any harm. What am I going to do with my 2 points from it? I don't know. I don't know what my goals are. I don't have a problem. Russia has a problem that they've got to try to resolve here. But I don't have a problem. I could do some diplomacy against the Egyptians, try to make them an ally. That doesn't hook me up with this stuff, which I don't think I have yet. I'm trying. It's hard to keep everything in mind that's going on. By the way, Russia put the at any cost under there, which is kind of cool because it's not in the discard pile. And it won't be there. It gets shuffled back in at that point. So I'm not giving the Germans a bonus off that. What was I looking at? Okay. Can I trace a line of communication through an ally is really the issue. So I'm trying to decide if I want to play this for alliances or to build up forces so that I can attack Egypt. I forgot the thing I said. I have to send them back there. This is really painful for utilizing navies to support pacification attempts. It makes a major difference in how valuable the Navy is. If I have to pay a CP to move the Navy each time. And especially if I have to pay more than one because it's like outside of Europe. I'm lucky here that it's in Europe, but ouch. I got a colonial key off that. How about that? We did something. So I'm looking at the Linus. It's an uninterrupted back to a supply. This trace can only pass through a power's controlled spaces during peacetime. So I've got to build up my army. Okay. So I think we take the event first. I think we have to do it in that order. Shift your event chit on the alliance table. Okay. Turkey becomes part of the Triple Alliance. They become the Triple Alliance. Okay. And now every power rolls on here. Now, all of them shift towards neutral, including Turkey. Except Turkey's disallowed from doing so. And now their neutral alliance switches to a triple alliance indicator. And there's nothing else there. But now I get 2 points. I'm going to use that to upgrade my army, I guess. I'm allowed, I've got 4 armies, but 3 of them are Turkish, and only 1 of them is Arab. I actually have room for a lot more Arab armies. Right. Just looking at this, AMP, oh fuck. MP equals 3. I got 1, 2, 3, sure. And no, I do not have room for a lot more, because manpower is not the number. Fuck. This is so hard for me to remember, because this just is the manpower number, but for the Turks, it's actually, they need more keys to get their manpower. And Austria needs more. So I only have 4 armies available. It's kind of painful, the shift between the 2 different views. Oh, no. No, wait a minute. Okay, here are the colonial manpower. Okay, so the manpower number's always on there. I don't know why I thought I wasn't seeing that. Huh. Weird. Okay. Oh! I see the difference. It's between the keys, which tell me, and the manpower numbers, and I reset those later. Okay, fair enough. The manpower's fine. I'm just getting confused because I'm not used to the game. And that's another time around. I'm almost out of battery here, so I'm going to put a couple of dice over on the Germans. The Germans have to play another card. They're not allowed to pass yet. Only the Brits are allowed to pass on 2. The Brits haven't played their home card. I think everybody else has played. Oh, no, the Brits have played their home card. What the hell's this dark thing? Aha! That's what's wrong. Decisions are getting harder now. I'm playing this 3-point card. I spent 1 point of it to get an influence in Saxony because I have that diplomatic, empower a minor power, basically, with an extra army. That sounds pretty good. Of course, I got to worry the Austrians can take it from me, cause issues there. But I have 2 more points. And I go through the list of things, and most of them I can't really do. Now, I could have built the level 3 fort. That might help if I'm going into a war situation, but I'm not expecting to lose the war situation. So, what do I want to do with those extra points? Well, I'm going to throw myself into the Triple Alliance side of things by a point. Hoping that I align with Austria in that way. Or with the Ottomans that way, and can call them in. They might have an interest in going to war. But I'm less interested in the Ottomans. I don't think that they're terribly helpful to me. So I'm going to actually also throw the Russians into the Triple Alliance. Now, this might not be the most appealing thing, but I don't know what else to do. I can't build troops. I could build a boat, but yeah. And it's just kind of like, I'm thinking I hold this card because I don't want to play it for its event yet. And I can pass. It gives me a good reaction card if something horrible happens. The Brits, I feel like they're most interested in obtaining flashpoint values here. And I've got an easy one available to me, the Low Countries, which I think is what I'm going to go for. Now, to get a flashpoint, I need to look that up. But I also was interested in, working towards China might be more valuable, stuff like that. And I'm not really sure, like, I haven't internalized the information in the rule book well enough. So I'm having to do lots of lookups to see how do I get around this? How do I do this? I think it would be very possible. I don't know. Like I said, I wouldn't bring. I don't think I'd want to bring this game to my group, which, isn't one that would read the rules and be all prepped beforehand, right? But I could kind of see it, to be honest. The same way that I could bring, say, Pax Britannica to groups before, which is taking a position where I'm giving advice and being sort of the person running the game and helping people, as well as perhaps a player, just to fill in enough seats, as it were. But I haven't had a game of, I don't think I've had 6 people at the table since I've been here in Eugene. In fact, I would say I don't think I had 6 people at the table while I was in Phoenix either, since these videos started. I know we did some XX with 4, maybe 5 people, but I don't think we got to 6. And except, the only exception I have to that is that we manage full games of stuff when at Consen World. But there is a group that meets in Oregon, and I know there's guys locally who sometimes go to that. It's not here. It's like an hour's drive away or whatever. But that would be a possibility. I'm just not that. The idea of going that far out of my way to sit down with a bunch of people I don't really know, without anybody that I really like at the table, that's a hard call. And I feel like I'm in a big enough town, I should be able to get people together for things. We may have hit 6 here on some Euros and stuff. I don't know. I'm just thinking. I know that the opportunity was there. But anyway, I don't know. One of the issues is I'm not sure that I can intervene and do stuff in China. I know Japan has a special rule here. Let's go see what that is. That says it's page 11. That might help tell me that, okay, China is different. Let's take a look. Yeah, see, this is them coming into play. I don't know what that means. They can start operating on the board once a certain card is in play. I could not find, though, a reference to China here. I'm looking under Q. I could also look under C. I don't expect it there. But under Q, there was nothing. Special spaces, which is where I found Japan. Now, again, this is set up following the organization that the table of contents kind of follows. It's not really an index. I can't just look up Japan and expect to find that, which is, I consider that kind of problematic. But yeah, I'm trying to see, can I just, put in, is an influence, first of all, there's 2 issues. One is, what do I need to get the flashpoint? And that I can look up. I'm sure flashpoint is in here. That's page 10. And again, I've gone over this, but I don't remember it. They take control of a number of spaces. Okay, so taking control of China and Japan sounds hard to do. I thought I could get them. They dominate when they take control of a specified number of spaces. So I can't just move into China. I actually have to beat China, and that's not something I want to do. But yeah, I was kind of looking at, okay, well, what can I go for? China is the cheapest. I only need 3 keys to grab that, but I need to beat the shit out of China for that. And Japan. These are all kind of out of range. So I'm kind of looking at doing... now, great game is this area here. Persia I can't do, but I could inject myself into trying to grab control of, something like Baluchistan here, which seems like a good idea. To do that, I'm going to pay a 2-point card for expeditionary forces. That allows me to build a new expeditionary force and put it in a chosen space. And I think when a land unit is placed to an uncontrolled space, a 0 pacification marker is also placed into that space. Now, this is weird, right? Because this should be here. Not here, as far as I'm concerned, because it's, it's not really contingent on... I did the expeditionary force action. This is where that placement seems to be happening. But again, the rules aren't as well designed as I would like them to be. Anyway. We'll move on to France. Probably the same kind of thoughts for France, but they have a single card. There's other people who will have to go. I can ask them how many cards they have. I know that I can pass. Austria must pass. Russia can pass. And then we get to the Turks, who have a couple of choices that they're not thrilled about, but whatever. I got the Sepoy Mutiny. I'm waiting for the Brits to play their home card. Now, I don't know which one they have in hand, but I know one of them can cancel out the India issue. So I will probably play this one. Choose a space in Asia, Africa, or North America that is controlled by a player but is not a home space belonging to that player. Place a 0 pacification marker on that space. There are no such. They're all home spaces right now. So this is a waste, but I get my 2 points, which is what I want to do. I don't know what I'm doing with them. In Elite Corps, my intention is to take Egypt with the final card. I'm hoping, because that opens all kinds of things up to me. Passes, I get to the Brits, and I'm at a tough place here. I can hold 2 cards. I don't think I want to hold 2 cards. Like I said, I'd kind of like to start working on diplomacy in the Netherlands, get to that half point there. I can do a pacification. But this, if I play it, well, should have played it before. I get to build a naval squadron and then spend 2 CPs on expeditionary force pacification and naval movement. All right, we're going to play that. I know already that I've got the bad card against us, but that's okay. I would not be holding this in the hopes of that, whereas this gives me more flexibility. I don't know. If I roll double ones, I won't play it. I'll be careful about that because I do have this extra piece of knowledge, but I just don't see it as that big a deal. So I gain a stability. This is part of it, right? Then I build a naval squadron. Now, I'm allowed, I got to be careful here, because some of them, are, oh, fuck. I think there are squadrons that are limited by the naval treaty, but I don't see any here. Okay. It says build one naval squadron or dreadnought. This is a little weird. I think it's going to be a partially deleted naval squadron. I could look this up in there. Fortunately, this gives it gives historical information and it gives some tactical. It's not clear. And if I look at build naval squadron, construct fleets, construct fleet, you know, am I a ready or spent? I don't know, you know. It just says build one naval squadron. It doesn't say whether it's full strength or not. That increases my naval power projection by a point. See, some of these boats, well, these I know have it, right? No. Some of these boats say something on them where they're affected by the naval treaty. They can only, NAR on them. They can only be built after the naval treaty conference, whatever happens. So I build one naval squadron. I have 2 CPs on expeditionary forces, pacification, and or naval movement actions. We'll do my pacification up there. I could do a naval movement action, but you know what? I don't have any squadrons back here. Which means for me to get to the Indian Ocean, I would have to send something quite far. Where can I build my squadron? Could I build it in Hong Kong? I doubt it. But let's just check that and make sure. Must be placed in controlled territorial home key on the main map with a port. Yeah. Can't even build it in Canada or Australia. Okay. So 1 CP will be on that. I need a 10 to succeed. What do I do with my extra CP? I don't know. I think I go into someplace else. Close. Not good enough. So this goes up. And now I can move into, let's go into Southwest Africa. Put one here. That looks more valuable to me than Rhodesia. Might not be the case, but that puts that there. I've spent my card, and I know I'm going into way too much detail. Okay, Germany was able to pass. France may not want to pass. These are hard to pick up, by the way. If I hold that card, gives me an extra card next turn. I don't see anything that I really need to do right now. So I am going to pass. And I think everybody is. This is such a nice card for France, but like crappy points. Like France gets it, they want to do the event. Anyone else gets it? No. Okay, it's the Sepoy Mutiny. The Indian stability flips over, and now I'm cursing that I played my home card because That has a -1 bowel movement. I don't think it loses me a card because I had a +1 before, but now my basic manpower is down by 1. Wait, that's not it. What's BM? Uh-oh. Fortunately, this doesn't help me there. Maybe it's battle modifier? I don't know, but I gotta look it up. But it's not here. It says place the Indian stability in the UK's... okay, sure. This doesn't help. None of this really helps. So now I have to look elsewhere in the rules for India. India stable, it gives the UK +1 card. So long as the backside is India unstable. The UK does not receive a +1 card bonus, and their Indian armies get a -1 battle modifier. You say DRM here. Over here it's BM. Yeah, I get it, but it's annoying. But now I get 2 points. To the unstable. Place 1 Sepoy rebel army and 0 War of India independence. Okay. What's this? A War of Independence. I need to find the Sepoys. Okay, so there's a pile of stuff there. The War of Independence, the Sepoy army. The first army is there. I don't think they fight right away. I think the Brits have to beat them to do something about that. I'm not going to look that up right now. But the Turks have 2 points. And I want to go to war with Egypt. So now it's time to start looking up the rules to see, can I succeed in this? Because obviously if I have to move here for one of my points, I'm not going to be able to get there. The thing, not moving the pieces around and whatnot, yeah, every game has a level of this, and I guess it's not that bad. I mean, I'm thinking if I'm looking at, say, more complex war games and whatnot, yeah, there's stuff I'm going to have to look up and try to figure out and whatnot. It's just, and I get the core, the card play, the CDG aspect of it and everything, but the warfare is a major part of it, and all the implications and whatnot of trying to take over these miners, it just doesn't come easily into my head. Now, I was going to say something like Pax Britannica comes a lot more easily into my head, what I can do, because I can't just declare war at random on things in that game. That game has a different mechanism where you try to establish control over something, and you have to send troops to do that. And that's how you do the warfare. And I couldn't just declare war on Egypt. Something special would have to happen for me to be able to intervene in Egypt because it's a formed country. I started looking at this, and I don't think I want to do it. I want to get a war budget of 2 and a war aim in Egypt. But the problem is this is a war of conquest. And I don't want to fight a war of conquest because that immediately hits me with the WTT goes up by 1 and I lose stability equal to the current WTT. So that would be painful. I have a card in here, the Jihad card, which is useful for this. Of course, means I don't do the modernization, but I do want Egypt. So I'm going to hold off for next turn with that. What am I going to do with these 2 points? What is Kuwait? Kuwait is part of the Great Game, isn't it? I could inject myself into Kuwait. The Great Game is 3 keys. There are more than 3 keys in there. But if you own 3, you own more than half of it. It doesn't really help me unless I go you know, balls to the wall against the English. But I don't have much option here as far as I can see it in terms of things I could do. I could play with diplomacy. I kind of like what's going on here, and I might boost that instead. So let's think about that. Do I want to screw around with Kuwait, or do I want to seek allies? We'll seek allies. Okay. So who do we want for allies? Well, not particularly the Germans. They don't excite us all that much. But the Russians definitely do. Forcing them into our alliance sounds cool. We'll stay here. Oh, I don't know. Taking something sounds neat too. Oh, gosh. All right. Well, we'll keep going with this. So Russia as a possible ally, and I don't view the Prussia as all that interesting to us. I'm already in here. It's unlikely I'll go further. I'll boost Russia another one. It feels so funny to play around with this because I don't know what it's going to result in, right? That gets me back around. Now, everybody's got to make their decision because Britain could pass on this turn, conceivably. They don't have a home card anymore, and, wow, they're not happy. I think another card could, like, screw India over completely for them. Back here with the flashpoints because I'm worried about something. They say control. Okay, here we go. For purposes of dominating flashpoint, spaces controlled by minor powers allied with a player count as controlled spaces. Okay, so that's what I want to do. So I would have the option to actually allying with Belgium, but I would rather hold on to a decent card. I could hold on to both cards. These are really hard to pick up. Like, it's not just my table. Or I could hold both cards. This is an interesting card. On the other hand, playing an expensive card would be kind of neat too. The cost for making an alliance is, I think, 3. Yeah. So if I wanted to grab Belgium, that could be that. Here's the thing, though. No, I can't take the Low Countries keys. All I could do is be very close to doing so. So there's no reason for me to play my card. I think everybody's going to pass. I don't feel like the only thing that... No, the India situation. Okay, I got to look up that War of Independence because I got to see if I need to deal with that. I'm pretty, I think at the end of the turn, this flips over, and then next turn it becomes vital. Like, I have to get it next turn, or else I will lose India, and that would be horrible. I think India's gone from the game if that happens. Other things, I lose that key because there's a rebel there. Now, how do I fight the rebels? I don't know. Is that something I do here? Land battle. Okay. How far down is that? It's not pacification. I didn't put a pack in there. Land battle.
Land battles are how players attack. Most are conducted against enemy powers. However, they can attack rebel armies. See 18. Is that page 18? No, I think it's rule 18. Again, the index, look, the table of contents should go to page. The index also goes to page, which I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it does confuse me when all the rules references are by the rule number. I know that's the common way. So if I were to attack, my BDRM, I got a -1. I'm not really good at fighting right now. I could get beaten. Because I think we both have a full army of 2 firepower. I've got a -1 because those are Indian troops, right? I think that says India on it. It does. Which makes, dealing with this a possibility. But I think I actually want to pass, because I will be better able to handle things next turn. Right now I do not have enough cards. I can't pick this up. I mean, if I had another one in hand, I could slide it under. Ah, there we go. That's how you pick them up. Yeah, this is painful. I've overextended and now I'm under attack. I think next turn I'll be in a better position to deal with this. So I think we're pushing through and we're done with the action phase. That's going to put us on the end phase. I'm going to break there because my battery is almost dead. But we're almost at the end of a turn. And, yeah, I know. I've gone through a lot here in terms of, like, exposing, what my thinking is and where my struggles are and whatnot. But I think it's of some value. We don't have the naval treaty here. Okay. It is pretty bold where it is, but I'm constantly having trouble because just seeing things. Okay, right, we're here at the end phase. Militarism. Gain 1 army step or prevent a fort from degrading. Nobody's got any forts, and I think everybody's at their maximum army size, to be honest. Let's take a look. Germans have a current... When do we set the manpower? Oh boy. Oh, there it is, at 5. So yeah. So for the Germans, they currently have a manpower of 2. They have 2 units. They have an industry of 1. They have 1 unit. Everything's built. They're not going to get anything. UK, same thing. We only have 1 colonial manpower. The French have 4 manpower. I look at my armies, 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually think that I want to put additional units if they're available on the player card. What I don't have is I don't have any reserves. Am I allowed to build a reserve step for this? That's an interesting question. Ugh. And we look for the sequence of play, which is quite deep in the rules, honestly. Let's see if that helps me. Okay, first place I look is here, but I don't think I'm not going to see it there. I have Zouaves here. Ah, yes, that was, if I lose the Zouaves, I can get them back. The end phase is here. Gain 1 army step, either reserve or standing, or prevent a fort. Okay, so yes, the French, somebody had a fort. The Russians have a fort that they have to think about. Okay, so I have to decide with the Russians. The French get a reserve army, and here's one that has a reserve marker, so I get a step of that. I'm only allowed one army, but that's okay. We look at the Austrians. The Austrians look like they have 3 armies, which matches, oh, their manpower is 4. They have a fort they might want to keep, though. This is a big if, right? Do you build your army step, or do you build? Because my current manpower was at 4. Or do I just consistently hold that Lombard fort? I don't think that Lombard fort is all that valuable to me. So I'm going to degrade that. Now, these happen not at exactly the same time, but I am going to build an Austrian army, and I have to find, or I want to find, a regular army and put that on the board. Now, I don't know where I'm allowed to put it. I think it's any home key, but I'm not positive. Russians have a similar question. Do they want to lose their Sevastopol fort? Or, oh, they got all kind of problems. Or their St. Petersburg fort. See, this is the thing. Maintaining forts is so expensive. How many armies do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 armies. That is my manpower. I could build more reserves up, but I can't. So I will keep a fort. Which fort do I think is more important? I'm worried about a Crimean War type event. I'm not really worried about losing St. Petersburg, so we'll take that one. And then on the Ottomans, I think we were at full manpower there. It is at 1 and 3. One, 2, 3, and 1. We have those. I don't have any industry, so I can't get anything else. I do not have a fort to maintain, so I get nothing, just like Germany and Britain got nothing. Okay. Minor power build step. Now we go through these. And this is something I'm less than absolutely convinced about. Low countries in Denmark, Belgium, Netherlands, and Denmark. They don't have any extra armies here, but the Danes rebuild that. Sorry, that's Hanover. Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark's in Schleswig-Holstein. Fine. Germany, Hanover, Saxony, and Bavaria. This would have been a reason to attack. They're building up. Poland doesn't exist yet. Italy. Tuscany gets a stop. Piedmont, Sardinia, and 2 Sicilies. It's kind of a weird situation because, like, right at the beginning of the game, the armies aren't that big. In the Balkans, Bosnia, Doesn't exist. Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Romania exists and gets their army. These others do not, because they're not independent yet. And non-Europeans, Egypt, Persia, and Japan. Let's take a look at those. Japan doesn't have an army yet until the Meiji card comes out. Egypt's built. Persia is built. I think that's what we do. There are other armies in there. They have to come into play either by somebody building them or whatever. The miner won't build it on its own, but once it's built, I think the miner will rebuild it. All naval units go to port. They should already be in port. Set manpower. Okay, here we take a look. There were no changes in most of these countries. France, though, gained Algeria. That's a colonial key that doesn't add to us. Why do I have 9 territorial keys then? Manpower 4. That's what I should have. Okay, good enough. Good enough, good enough. I don't think anybody changed anything. Those are all correct. Okay. Industrialize. Oh, fuck. You know what we forgot to do? I got caught by this. We had a card. No, it did not. The one that the Turks got their realignment, but nothing could change on that. Okay. Where were we? Industrialization. So now I have to look at the industrialization, and unfortunately, again, we don't have the rule number here. Okay. So Russia and Ottoman are the specials. We need a 5. Okay. So the Germans, they industrialized with a 4. That's guaranteed. Germany's industry goes up by 1. I'll give them that. This goes away. England, industry goes up by 1. I'm annoyed by what I'm putting. You know, like I don't really have room for everything that I want. France, they only did a 2. Francis goes up by 1. Austria put a 2 in. They do not get it. They're on an auto-industrialize, which means if they play another card, they will automatically industrialize. Russia needs a 6. They go to auto-industrialize. Just checking cards here. And the poor Turks. Hey! That's kind of cool. Okay. That gets us to progress truces. There are no truces in place. Progress wars of independence. This goes up to a +1. That's the only one on the board. Alliance resolution step. Now we get to do this thing. Okay. We have to worry about the whole alliance system. And it's here. All right. So I'm trying to remember. The order is what I'm worried about here. Place the MPIT influences. Double alliance shift. No. All this. Okay, here we go. Total is the amount of their influence there has. Okay. And whoever has the highest total goes first, and then turn order, which luckily appears to be here. Yeah. Okay. So Russia, which has 4, has the most. I do not like the dice I have anymore. I need different colored dice. In my happy place with dice for each country, even though that may not be of any importance here. All right. Each player totals the amount of influence has accumulated. Alliance resolutions are then carried out, starting with the power. Okay. First option. If the power has only one type of influence, it'll shift in that direction. Russia has 2 different types. If it has 2 or 3, a die is rolled for each marker. Okay, so this is interesting. A die is rolled for each marker. It's not saying whether or not it's each marker that's 1 or greater or each marker, period. So let's see, for example, if it has 2 triple entente, 4, yeah, each one of these is in there. What's not clear, okay, maybe it will be here, is whether or not you roll for zeros. Let's take a look at Austria. Austria is interesting. They roll a 6 and a 5. It looks like they don't roll for this one. So yeah. So Russia, towards the Triple Alliance, they're a +3. And towards neutral, they're a +1. 7 to 5. A double alliance shift is like greater than 10 over the next. So we shifted into the Triple Alliance. I'm going to put this over here so we know it's been done. And the Russians are in the Triple Alliance. Who's the next highest? That looks like it is Germany at 2. So this is +1 in both, towards the Triple Alliance and towards neutral. That's 3-6. Germany is going to move towards neutral. They stay in neutral. So we'll mark that. Okay. All the rest are at 1. England stays neutral. France stays neutral. Austria stays neutral. The final one are the Turks, who automatically shift further into the Triple Alliance and stay where they are. And now we populate the ones with these. So we have an Ottoman-Russian alliance, believe it or not. You know, the Ottomans were able to convince the Russians into a position, and they can't do anything about it. The only thing they can do is play with this chart and try to prevent it. You can't like just violate the situation. Okay, that was the alliance. The WTT goes back down to 0, making it more appealing for the Turks to go to war or whatever. And then, all players get 3 NGs, keeping 1. Germany has the option to just grab the one they want. These cards are, I don't know where they are. Did I put them in here? Just Great Wars are over there. Here are the national goals. Yeah. And I'll separate these out by nation. If there's, I don't know how many there are per nation. Yeah. Germans are going for unification. Now this requires more than unification. It requires that they control all German home spaces. So even if they lose a home space, or if they're unable if unification happens and they don't get them all, they still have to try to work to make sure that they get all of them. Whatever works with that. It looks like there's 8 per. I shuffle a little bit, and then I'm going to roll a die and cut down that deep in for each of them. So I'll just show you how I do this. So like the English, card 2, then I put it on top, card 5. Why do I do it like this? Because I don't trust my ability to shuffle a small deck. And this should be this one. So then this is going to be the British 3 choices. And they get to pick one of these, and I'll look and make my decision. Now these, unlike the unification one, remain secret. So you have secret goals throughout this game for all the countries. I died to decide one of these, France's, because I was really torn by it. But the others were pretty easy for me to choose. Britain went for high stability. As long as they rank first in stability, that should be plausible. The problem with that one is I'm worried about tying. But as long as we can get the highest stability, we'll get the points, I guess. France, this was the hard one. They went for Napoleon's legacy. This has 2 options. Control 4 European keys that you didn't control at the beginning of the game, one of which can be substituted by a minor power alliance in Europe. You can reveal the national goal when you launch a war of conquest. When you reveal this, you decrease your stability loss for declaring wars of conquest by 2, but it still increases the WTT. You get 2 victory points if you control 3 European keys you didn't control at the beginning of the game, one of which can be substituted by a minor. This is a big 4-point thing. They had another one which had more, which was the French Resurgence, which is more what they did historically. That looked easier to accomplish, and that's why I rolled a die, was how big did I want to go. Those were the 2 that I was trying to decide between. Austria, hey, with already one of these in play, I'm going with bind them together. Grant citizenship to 4 minorities. You must control a space of that nationality to count it. Gain 2 victory points if you grant citizenship to 3 minorities, and you have to control a space. Again, this is a big point one. The French one was worth 4 as well, I think. Yeah. I like the idea of going for, going big, especially this early. I'll have time. The Russians, I feel like they have a lot of keys in Europe. It's hard to tell. But here they want the most European keys. This is ranked. They get 3 victory points if they're in first place. Same as the others, the other ranked ones. Now I have 12 total territorial keys. 3 of them, though, are there in Asia, which means I've got 9. That puts me at a tie with France. 1, 2. But I feel like I have more room to grow than most countries. Of course, given that France took the the Napoleon's ambition, hey, this might be challenging, but we don't know that yet. And then the Turks went with control of most flashpoints. I found the hardest to pick. I'm not thrilled with that one. Their others were most minor alliances and peace in our time. I see peace in our time as a really hard one to control. Maybe late in the game that becomes easier to choose. But right now, man, I'm just like, yeah, the war is likely to happen, and I don't know what I can do to prevent it. Let's see how violent other people are, and then maybe it becomes an interesting option at other times. Britain got that as an option too, and they're like, yeah, I mean, I would love to work for that, but it just doesn't seem plausible. Okay, and now we advance the turn marker if we can find it. That puts us into the 1860s. What does this say? AB card. I don't know what that means. That might mean adding cards to the deck. I'm going to look at the deck. I thought there were cards from the 1860s in that pile. I think there are cards for all of these eras, just not for the 1860s, not for the 1910s. Perfect. And we're done with a turn. And I feel like, yes, it was painful. We worked our way through, had to look up a bunch of stuff. But I don't feel too uncomfortable, to be honest. Less uncomfortable than I did with some of the games that I've kind of ragged upon about being too complex. The rules, despite there being 8 pages of errata or whatever, I don't feel like there's anything that's as horrible as I was facing in some of the others. And I'm not talking about the GMT ones here. Those are pretty solid. But the other kind of European designs that I've looked at here from smaller print. Yes, I still have some questions around the edges and whatnot, but from the cards I've looked at and everything, they just seem more solidly designed and developed and whatnot from the couple of other games that I'm looking at, and those are the Eastern European one and the Wars of Religion in France. Both of which look so exciting and fun, but especially the Eastern European one just had such a mess in terms of how everything interacted. I gotta say, I feel, it's not like GMT gets a free pass here for other stuff. I had real trouble with Clash of Sovereigns. I felt like that wasn't as well developed as, say, look, Tanto Monta and Virgin Queen both felt like they were heavy, too heavy. Maybe this does too. But and actually, I don't know if this does in the same way. Like, I don't feel like I've got as many disparate victory conditions. We'll see as these start piling up and whatnot. But those games just felt like there were all kind of special things I had to keep in mind for trying to win the game, as opposed to, so I was constantly worrying about that instead of just, okay, how do I effectuate the things? I know what I want to do, more or less. And I felt like I knew what I wanted to do in this turn at most choices that came to play, which is very helpful. Like, when you don't know what you want to do and you don't know how to do it, it's really painful. That's the one thing, the war was the one thing where I ran into kind of I don't know if I want to do this, but that was resolvable quickly enough. Yes, I may have made some bad decisions, but that's okay. Bad decisions are okay as long as I feel like I know what I'm doing when I'm making them, even if I'm wrong. All right, let's send this up.
put a lie to that. I believe, I'll look it up, but I believe these all get reshuffled back in. That means you have an incredibly random deck. I mean, it's a big deck of cards. Sure, a fair amount of them get handed out each turn, but a fair amount of them don't. So there's no guaranteeing anything will happen. It's not, some of these other games have a tendency to say, okay, you only shuffle in the new cards from the new period and you leave all these behind and they only get reshuffled after. This is going to be far more random, and I like that. I'm always in favor of random, but I mean, it's a design decision, right? You know, at some point or another, do you want to force events to happen by making sure that the deck goes through them and gives people an option on every event? With players getting essentially, and this may be the Here I Stand flavor, I don't remember it particularly. I think you do reshuffle each time. With players essentially getting an option on whether or not, like with the card that could have given Bavaria completely over. Was it Bavaria? I think it was. Completely over to the Austrians. That kind of card is very, very powerful. And, you know, that could have ended up in Austria's hand, in which case they would have played it. In anybody else's hand, wow, you really got to give me something good for that. You know, an extra card draw isn't going to do it. All right. Anyway, now we'll put it up, but I think I need to swap batteries to charge this one while I do that, because I don't think the loading process will wear my battery out too much.